Hello and welcome to episode 272 of the 77 Club. Harry, start with the socials.
The Wall 77 Club on Facebook and Instagram. We're at 77 Club Podcast on Twitter or X. We're also on Spotify, YouTube, iTunes, at Audio Music, Google Play. So please subscribe and tell a friend.
And Jack Williams is here.
Hello, everybody.
So we are recording just as the third kit has dropped. For those of you who are watching the podcast, here's a picture on the screen. I want to go to Jack first, just because Harry's internet is obviously playing up again. The hamster is not running quickly enough in his AOL wheel. Jack, can you just say what you see? Because you quite like it.
I'll say what I see, and I see purple. That's about it, really. I wouldn't say I like it. It's one of those where until you've actually seen it in the flesh, rather than a picture that someone's probably taken in a factory when they shouldn't have, or just seen a professional photo that the club actually release. I'll make my own opinion when I actually set my own eyes on it. I think it's, they're trying to be simplistic and a little bit different, but sometimes different can go a bit too far. And I know most of the comments I've seen so far have been mainly negative, but is it one of those that will turn into a cult classic that you see people wearing as retro shirts at festivals in 20, 30 years time? Probably not, because it is purple and orange, but who knows? But it's one of those where it's probably the most interesting shirt we've had for a while. So I reckon it might sell quite well, to be honest. Maybe they've played a blinder here, and maybe people will just invest in it because it's so different, or maybe Fosun, because they're just taking the piss now. They'll just say, "Oh, we've made our own company. What colour should we make the kit? Oh, purple and orange. Doesn't matter. They'll buy it, and it costs us 4p to make it. So we'll see. But I think, most people in the comments are saying they hate it, but who knows?
Harry, what do you think of it? Because Jack makes the point, doesn't he, that it could be a cult classic. We could potentially be looking back in a few years' time and going, "God, remember when we had betting sponsors on the front of shirts?" I think this is the last season that they're going to be allowed.
At first, I think it looked awful, but I thought that about the away top, the black one. But when I saw it in person in the shop, I actually really liked it. So hopefully it grows and we want to see it in the shop. But yeah, that looked the best.
Yeah, Neil says it looks dreadful. Andy says it's lavender and tangerine, and I think that's probably a really good way of describing it, actually, lavender. Why not a white third top? I completely agree, Neil. I'm a big fan of the white kits, definitely. But yeah, like I say, you might be looking back. We look at the old F1 races or something, when you've got all of the cigarette manufacturers all plastered everywhere, and you never know.
White the badge in the middle as well.
That's true, actually. I hadn't noticed that, because obviously on the home and away kits, they're right on the breastbone, aren't they? Which is very, very strange. Anyway, let's move on from the third kit and turn our matters to the international break. Actually, back after the international break, Wolves players made a significant impact during the international break. Yerson Mosquera actually scored his first senior international goal, helping Colombia secure a historic 2-1 World Cup qualifying victory over Argentina. And despite being taken off with a suspected injury, Mosquera's performance put Colombia second in the standings for qualification. So we're waiting to hear back about that one. And the suspected injury actually comes from the club website, so they're usually a bit cagey about that. So hopefully it'll be okay for the weekend, obviously, against Newcastle. Centre-back Santi Bueno helped Uruguay earn a clean sheet in a 0-0 draw with Venezuela, keeping Uruguay in third place in the same qualification group as Colombia and Argentina. And then Andre played the full match in a 1-0 loss to Paraguay for Brazil. João Gomes was an unused sub. Over in Asia, Hwang Hee-chan scored his 15th international goal, helping South Korea to a 3-1 win over Oman in World Cup qualifiers. Meanwhile, in Europe, Nelson Semedo and Matt Doherty featured for Portugal and Ireland, respectively, in their Nations League matches. Carlos Forbes scored for Portugal's under-21s, while Rodrigo Gomes played the full 90 minutes in their 2-0 win over Croatia. I will give points to anybody who could tell me who Carlos Forbes came on for.
No idea.
For the under-21s, this is, it must be. Oh, God, who did we let go? Somebody who doesn't play for us anymore that used to.
Not far off. Still on the books.
Still on the books?
Yeah.
Chiquinha?
Oh, Fabio.
Fabio Silva
Oh,
is it?
Fabio.
Yes. And for what it's worth, Craig says, I actually really like that kit and I like the retro badge. So that's the international break. Harry, I suppose the main thing about international breaks, as with most clubs, with games that I would say don't really matter. I mean, I can't really get on board with the Nations League stuff, to be honest. They just seem like friendlies to me. I never really see them as a Euros or a World Cup. But we've got players back which are, apart from possibly Mosquera, unscathed.
Yeah, I was going to say, I saw that on Twitter about Mosquera. I saw he scored in that. Yeah, that's the main thing. And with England, we will go on to it. Remember, we missed the Saturday one against Ireland, which was playing that charity game, but it's hard to get up for the international break. And I watched last night's the Finland one, but it was so boring. It just was. And I'm glad the Premier League's back. Same old, and this international break's the worst because you're just getting back into the Premier League, and then they plonk this one in there. It's always a one that I don't really look forward to at all.
We all say that, don't we, Jack? 3 games into a Premier League season, everyone's raring to go. There's been a European Championships in the summer, and we're just sort of dying for football. And then we get sort of knocked back, and we've got 2 weeks off.
Yeah, it's stupid. Everybody hates it. Everyone says every year that they hate it. Nothing changes. Don't care about England until the summer of 2026. But we haven't spoken about the biggest story of this international break. And I'm going to see if either of you two know what it is. But it was the biggest story by a long way and happened in Europe.
Oh.
Got to be the 7-a-side.
No. That would be a nice segue, but it was actually international football.
I don't know, actually. Because I don't know.
It was San Marino's victory over Liechtenstein, their first in 30 years.
Wow.
I think they won 1-0, didn't they? And
did they?
Yeah, so it's fair play to them. Congratulations. But it's that San Marino fan on Twitter, that fan account, which is quite funny. I bet he was going like buzzing. But yeah, it's I think it's their first, maybe even their first ever competitive victory and their first victory in anything in 30 years or something along those lines.
I'm sure it was against somebody like Liechtenstein that they got their last actual result.
I think it was.
It may have been a draw. But Christ, imagine what's going on in San Marino now. I mean, I think they pretty much get a bank holiday every time they win a corner, let alone anything else, let alone 3 points in a qualifying match.
Mm-hmm. There we go.
Sorry, Harry.
That's all I took away from that.
Yes. Yeah.
Anyway, talk about your 5-a-side.
We'll save that for the end.
Okay.
But want to have a look at Forest, Jack, and I'll probably start with you actually, because you were there. I mean, Forest maintaining their unbeaten start to the Premier League season. Chris Wood, who seems to be the modern day version of Kevin Phillips, obviously scores against Wolves. Nodded in unchallenged. I mean, the big call was, of course, no Jose Sarr, given some time away from the group because there was potential interest in a move to Saudi Arabia. So Sam Johnston makes his Premier League debut. Probably could have done a little bit better for the goal, but I think on the whole, it was a good performance from him, but an absolute steam rat from Bellegarde.
Yeah, it seems like ages ago. We always say this, don't we? Once it's happened, that you kind of just forget exactly how the game went. First things first, I suppose, like Dawson, Semedo back in, I think it helped. We looked better. There was some decent individual performances around the pitch. Just really disappointing, to be honest. It was actually really bad defending to let that first goal in from Chris Wood because we just left him completely unmarked. I don't know who was supposed to be picking him up, but absolutely nobody was. And you gave him a free header, and before you know it, we're 1-0 down. But then obviously we get back into it straight away with a great finish from Bellegarde, which is just a weird one really, because it's kind of a mishit from Forest, if memory serves me right. And then he just turns and hits it, and no one's really expecting him to. So I mean, it was a great strike anyway. The keeper wouldn't get anywhere near it, but nobody was anywhere near him because nobody was really expecting him to actually just take the shot on, and he did. So fair play to him. It was a brilliant effort. And then it was a game of sort of, we had a few chances, but I felt that we were hanging on a little bit towards the end, and we were the ones playing out for the point more than Forest were. We got a little bit lucky with that goal that Chris Wood, was it Chris Wood again? He got the offside one.
Yeah.
And also, if you remember going to Sam Johnston, there was a header as well, which I think was Chris Wood again, which is a great save from Johnston, which he just picks out the air. So, he's had a good debut really, and I was quite surprised at that. I obviously knew he was coming in, and you can say from Jose Sarr's performances that, we need a bit of competition up there. But I wasn't expecting us to sign him and then immediately come into the starting lineup. I was quite surprised by that. And I think that says a lot about what Gary O'Neill's been thinking about Sarr lately. And to be honest, after that happened, I was expecting Sarr to go somewhere or something. And I know there were people saying the Saudi window's open a bit longer and stuff, but I don't know how that works in terms of ours. But in the end, I think a point was probably the fair result. And it's nice to at least get off the mark. But yeah, as I say, we were hanging on a little bit towards the end. But there were some positives as well. We had chances with Ait-Nouri really early on, had a good chance, and Cunha caused them some trouble a few times, but just either fluffed the shot or made the wrong decision, which is just him in a nutshell, isn't it? Really, lots of ability, but there's just usually something that goes wrong right at the end. But yeah, overall not too bad. But it, again, on paper with the run we've had, this was a game where we had to pick up something at least. If we'd have lost, it would have been straight into meltdown territory. So at least we managed to go away with a point. But just disappointed with that first goal, really, from a defensive point of view, because I don't know what we were doing, what the plan was, just to leave Chris Wood completely unmarked at the back post and then be surprised when we're letting a header in.
Harry, what did you reckon? I mean, like Gary O'Neill said after the match, it was great to get a point on the board. And as Jack said then, I think both teams had chances to win it in the end. And it was, you'd probably say, a fair result, and maybe Forest just edged it. But there are reasons to be cheerful, and I think, like a lot of us, and especially me, is calling for at least a little bit of competition for Jose Sarr, because I think he has gone off the boil since that Player of the Season performance. But you have to go back a couple of years to get that.
Yeah, Johnston, he had a really good game apart from the goal. I thought he was a bit blindsided from Elanga in front of him, but he made some really good saves. Jack mentioned the Chris Wood one, the header. Chris Wood had the ball in the net, didn't he, as well, second half, when it was offside. Mm-hmm. But Dawson was man of the match by a mile for me. He put his body on the line. It was so good having him back in the defence. He makes such a difference. Lamina put in a shift as well. I thought he was having a serious injury on that one when he went down for ages, when he fell on his own leg. But a sloppy performance from us. I think Forest deserved the win, really, on the balance of play. But we got away with an away draw, and we needed to get a point on the board, as we've said. And on another day, we could have lost. And again, tactically, I'm not too sure what O'Neill was trying to achieve. We went the 4-4-2, didn't we? Ait-Nouri was left wing, as we know, he had that really good chance at the beginning. And we got away one, I think. Bit of a sloppy performance, but at least we didn't lose.
Jack said, Andy says, Cunha being greedy or bad decision making. I mean, he's a striker. Yeah, a bit of both, probably. It's just what strikers do, isn't it? Bit of greediness.
Yeah. Is that the one where he should have squared it, or the one where he tried to curl it around the keeper rather than cut it back? There was a couple, weren't there? Both. To be honest, thinking about it.
One first half, wasn't it, when he should have laid it off the Bellegarde. Not long after we'd scored, I think. And he absolutely ballooned it over. And that one when he ran into the box, overcooked it, and then Larson at the post, he should have done better there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems to be a good partnership sort of brewing under the surface there with him and Larson, though, which is good to see. But Jack, just on Dawson, I mean, I'm a huge fan of him. I think everybody probably on the podcast is. He does make a huge difference, as Harry has said. But the one thing that stuck out for me, aside from his defensive duties, was his distribution was just on point.
Yeah, well, it's the first thing I said when it was nice to have Dawson and Tomato back, and it does make a difference. The only issue with this is the same thing we were saying in the weeks leading up to the transfer window, is that we are being very reliant on a senior player, and by senior I mean someone who's into his 30s, very experienced, but has just come back from an injury. And we need people to play and have competition. And the first thing we said then is, Mosquera's got an injury. So it's the most predictable thing to happen ever, isn't it? Where everyone's saying we need a centre back, and now whether it's just a knock or not, I don't know. But we know it's a department where we need some reinforcements. But not much we can do about it now. But yeah, it's nice to have. Obviously, great to have Dawson back, and hope he stays fit, because let's be honest, those first two games of the season when he wasn't here, defensively, we were all over the place, weren't we? And it's a nice idea to have, Mosquera and Totti, but between them, Totti's had a few Premier League games, a season or whatever, playing as part of a back three. Mosquera's had none. It's not a partnership for the Premier League that's going to take you to the top half of the table, is it really? So we need that bit of experience there, and Dawson brings that. So he's got to stay fit, and if he stays fit, he's like the first name on the team sheet, particularly in terms of centre backs.
Yeah, completely agree. Cameron says the defender in the last 20-ish minutes was the best part of the Forest game, barring Bellegarde's goal. I suppose, Harry, we look at the substitutions and it maybe raises an eyebrow. I think Rodrigo Gomez is maybe not. I think we thought he was probably a mainstay for the starting 11 or playing a bigger part than maybe he is at the moment.
Yeah, I'm shocked at that. Like, he didn't start the Chelsea game. He's just kind of been banished out the team since Arsenal. Obviously, it was nice to see Andre come on. He must have been jet lagged because he just got over, hadn't he, from South America. Guedes come on again. So to pick Guedes to come on over Rodrigo Gomez is a really big surprise, to be fair. But he had just scored the 2 in the week, hadn't he, against Burnley? So, but yeah, Rodrigo Gomez won. Very surprising at that. Don't know.
It's early days, though, isn't it? And although he did a good run or two against Arsenal, there wasn't really much else there. And it's kind of seems like a luxury player that until he's properly embedded in, that you can't really be taking many risks when, you've got a difficult start and you've let in many goals. So you just need to go and try and go back to what and get a point on the board, really. But I'm sure it doesn't. I wouldn't read into it too much, is what I'm saying. I think it's just one of those where we'll see how it goes.
Just on Neil keeps asking us to talk about tactics. I was surprised we went 4-4-2. I thought we were going to go 5 at the back when I saw the lineup. Ait-Nouri on the left. He's better going forward, isn't he, than he is defending, let's be honest. But unless he's playing against Salah, and he always has a worldie. But yeah, Toti Gomez left back. I think I prefer him left back than centre half, to be honest. He was a bit shaky again. But against Forest away, a team that you've got to be trying to beat, I didn't mind going a 4-4-2 or a 4-4-1-1 with Cunha just behind Larson. So yeah, maybe would we have been better if we'd have stuck to a 5? I mean, it was nice having Semedo back as well, wasn't it? I thought he was decent at right back. But it's interesting. I don't think we'll be carrying on with that. Well, he might go 4-4-2 again. Obviously, we're going to talk about it later for the Newcastle game. But yeah, I was shocked when I seen the way we shaped up after seeing the starting lineup. I was very shocked to see Ait-Nouri left wing and not left wing back or left back in a 5.
What do you reckon, Jack? I mean, Gary O'Neill either seems to get it spot on tactically or just not at all. And obviously you have the added needle of Morgan Gibbs-White being in the Forest side. You've got Nuno, former manager, on the touchline as well. So it's a little bit of a different dynamic, I suppose, in terms of the game itself from a fan perspective.
I don't think he's done very well tactically across these first 3 games. And I think that's probably the feeling of most Wolves fans. There's been some interesting, changes, and just the half-time at the Chelsea game is the one that obviously you just keep remembering, when we're winning the game and he just then seems to send everyone to play up front. And silly other things as well, like in the Forest game, like I said, just some of the marking and that sort of thing. And I was the same as Harry. I thought that it was going to be a back 5, and I was quite surprised when it wasn't. And I don't know how long you can persist with this 4-4-2 when he's kind of sort of already come out and said we haven't quite got the players for it in the right positions, and not that much has changed. Because it's defensively is the worry. I think defensively is the worry with playing 4-4-2. It's not necessarily the going forward. So yeah, I think there's a little bit of pressure on him now, but it's the first few games of the season, so you've got to give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit. But I would personally think that the players we've got at the moment are better suited to a back 5, and I would be quite happy if it came back in. But as I said, I thought it was coming back in for Forest.
It's weird, isn't it, Harry? Because I don't think anybody is, not that I've seen anyway, that's serious about it, has ever really called for a 4 at the back or anything like that. And under Nuno, we were fairly low scoring, but obviously grinding out results, 2 7th place finishes, etc. Last season wasn't really a struggle for goals. We were unlucky with injuries, so our talisman in sort of like the Netos and the Cunhas and Wang, obviously that front 3 being out for a lot of the season makes an impact as well. So I just don't know if it makes sense. And I think you've got to be fluid as well, haven't you? It's not like the Mike Bassett, we will play 4-4-2 and that's the end of it. You need to be fluid within a game.
I think O'Neill does try and be fluid, doesn't he? He tries all this hybrid stuff with Ait-Nouri. But, I mean, under Lopetegui, we played a 4 at the back quite a lot. We did have a few nightmare games like Leeds at home and Brighton away and Arsenal away at the end. But, yeah, so Lopetegui, he probably did it the most. Bruno Lage tried it and switched. Nuno tried it in lockdown, and then we lost to Albion. So, yeah, it's always been a bit of a disaster, isn't it? Apart from, really, for me, in spells under Lopetegui, where it kind of worked, where Toti Gomez was left back. You remember that one where we beat Villa and he scored the header? He was left back that day in a 4. So it has worked at times. And O'Neill clearly wants to go to a back 4, but he's going to bottle it and go back to a back 5. I reckon if we keep if we don't pick up a win soon, I think he'll go back to a back 5 because it worked last year.
Yeah, nine goals in 3 games conceded is not great. But then, as Jack says, tough starts the season, and that will continue on Sunday afternoon, 4:30 kickoff at Molineux, at Newcastle at home. 61% of the Premier League meetings between Newcastle and Wolves have finished as a draw. That's 11 out of 18. That's the highest percentage of any fixture to have been played at least 15 times in the competition. So, Jack, it's got drawn all over it.
I would take a draw, to be honest with you. There was that era, wasn't there, particularly when we first came back up, that it was just 1-1, 1-1. Seemed like it was 1-1 every time, so there was no point in playing. It's not been quite the same from memory the last few occasions. But I would take a point here. It's just another game in it where it's just such a difficult, just highlights our difficult start. But, we're at home. Late kickoff on a Sunday, which is never the best time for getting a home crowd up and rowdy, is it really? But it's a difficult one because I don't quite know what to make of us yet this season, because I don't think the 3 games that we've seen with new players coming in and some players coming in late, some of them getting minutes, some of them starting the first game and then not seeing them since, really. I don't think me or probably Gary O'Neill knows exactly what to expect from all of these players yet, or what to make of us. And just having playing Chelsea and Arsenal, which really 2 really tough games to start with, and then having an away fixture at Forest who've won their first 2 games, I just don't know where we are, and I don't think we're going to actually properly get a gauge of that probably until 10, 12 games into this season, just because of how difficult this start is. So we've seen in spells that we can play. The defence, again, is the worry for me, and how he lines up, will play a big part in that. But there's no reason why we should be that scared of Newcastle, because we can cause them problems at home, and we can cause any team problems at home. We scored 2 against Chelsea up until then obviously we went and switched off. So, see how it goes, and just, play with a bit of no fear, and hopefully we'll just learn a bit more about how we're looking this season.
Harry, I think Andre has probably spent about 10 times more time on an airplane over the last 2 weeks than he has actually playing for Wolves. But lots of comments saying that, he's going to be a massive player for us. He'll sit in front of the defence, allowing Lamina and Gomez to roam forward in a 4-3-3 potentially. Do you think there's room in that starting lineup for him?
Yeah, that Sativa Breeder comment you just got up about him sitting, I really want that to happen. I want it to be Lamina, Gomez and Andre, with ideally Strand Larsen, Cunha, and you're going to go for Hwang or Guedes, and you're up there. A bit harsh on Bellegarde after scoring an absolute rocket, but I think Andre is very highly touted, and I think we'll be seeing him starting sooner rather than later. So a 4-3-3 is probably the way O'Neill wants to go. But then you've got to think about Aït-Nouri as well, haven't you? Maybe he can be more advanced and be up there as part of that 3. We've seen him do it before, but most likely he'll be left back and we'll drop Toti Gomez. But in this game, Newcastle are a really good team, aren't they? Very good. So we'll be underdogs. We'll get onto the odds in a minute. Will he go to a 5? Probably not, judging off the first 3 games, unless he's had a bit of a brainstorm over this international break, although he's had loads of players away, so he can't work on it. I think we might see a 4 again, but wouldn't surprise me if he does switch to a 5 just because of the goals we have conceded.
Chris says, do you reckon Doyle should start, Jack? I mean, I don't think he's really in. Do you think he's in the mix for it? I think given... I
mean, he did well in the Cup, and he did well when he came on against Forest, didn't he?
Yeah.
He had that one shot, didn't he, where you could tell from his reaction he thought it was going in, but one of them got a head on it or something, didn't they? And it just deflected it. So he was gutted about that because he thought that was going top corner. But potentially, I think it helped when he came on against Forest. It's just, as I said, it's like got quite a lot of players in certain positions. It's kind of hard to pick a team at the moment, really. And if you're looking at players who probably haven't shone yet, I mean, Hwang is one of them, isn't he? Really?
God,
the fact we're even like saying, or maybe Guedes will start over Hwang, it's just like, what? Where? How have we got to this? Marseille were willing to pay like 22 million for him or something close season, and we should have bit their hand off. But it's not fair. It's early days, so again, I just don't know what to expect, really. It's a really difficult one because I don't think we've seen enough to actually be a fair representation of where we are yet, and we've not seen enough of these new players to know who should definitely be starting. But on the Andre one, I think the fact that he'd probably only been in the country a bloody day and he's still made an appearance against Forest, that's a positive sign that O'Neill thinks he's definitely going to be in contention to start.
Harry, it will be an interesting day for Ait-Nouri, I think. Anthony Gordon, obviously playing for England over the international break, lots of pace. Harvey Barnes on the other side, potentially a problem for Nelson Semedo. Do you think this is going to be one of those games where Newcastle back four fairly physical, got to say, especially with people like Dan Burn in there, but also the pace that they have on the wings can be pretty frightening at times. We're going to need some players with an engine on them for this, won't we?
Yeah, just you going through them names there does scare me a bit because Gordon does look sharp. He looked sharp for England against Finland. Barnes scored, didn't he? One of their last games. I remember watching that. And Isaac he's on fire, isn't he? Isaac, he's one of the best strikers in the Premier League. So, we know we've had a tough start, but on our day, I think we can beat Newcastle, but we'll have to be on it because those players going forward, they've got a fantastic team, especially going forward. And like you mentioned, they've got a good defence as well. So we've got our work cut out a bit, but if we're on it and we have a good performance, which we've shown in glimpses, especially against Arsenal and Chelsea in spells of those games, we've shown we can hurt teams, but we just can't open up like a prostitute's knickers, can we, at the back?
No, that's pretty sure that's the same. Yeah. Jack, they have seven points in 3 games. I mean, they've only scored 4 goals. So, like I say, tight at the back, but not exactly banging them in going forward.
No. Who they played? Southampton, who everyone's beat so far. Was it Bournemouth? And
Spurs?
Someone else? Spurs, yeah.
Spurs last time out. Drew to Bournemouth, beat Newcastle, but had a man sent off in that game, to be fair.
7 points from 3 Premier League games is a good return, whoever you are, unless you're Man City in it, let's be honest. And you can only play who you're drawn against. But it's on paper, it's a much more favourable start than ours, I think, even though they have had to play Tottenham. So, yeah, again, I don't know what to expect, to be honest. Can we beat Newcastle on our day? Yes, of course we can. It's just, it's another very difficult one, really. So I'm going to be a little... pessimistic, I think, rather than optimistic about how it's going to go.
Harry, the one question that we haven't asked, and it's probably because we're used to him having absolutely zero competition and any chance of him being dropped is probably for a cup game, is who's going to start in goal?
Yeah, it's a crazy one because if you believe the reports, Sarr's now third choice. That's what's That's what's being reported because of his start. Bentley's second, Sarr's third. So we might not even see Sarr in the squad again, which is crazy.
How's that happened?
Because I think something's happened because he weren't even lined up for a move for the Forest game, and O'Neill just banished him out of the squad. So something's gone on behind the scenes there. They said he needed a break. They said Sarr needed a break, but I think something more's gone on.
Third game of the season.
I know. Well, I think he lost his head.
50 grand a week.
Well, after the Chelsea game, I think after the Chelsea game, he just lost his head. Something's happened because that's all O'Neill said after the game. Just said he needed a break. So
is it tiring having to turn around and pick the ball at your net 6 times?
Yeah,
it's true.
Maybe the Saudi move fell through, but Johnson had a good debut, so I think he will keep his place. Bentley played well against Burnley, and all Sarr's done is jump around like a bit of a, I don't want to say the word, we get cancelled, but he's struggled a bit.
Well, I don't know what you're going to say. But,
it's a bit of a strange one. Jack, score prediction?
Just quickly on Sarr, I suppose if you think of it from his point of view, he's been our first choice keeper for 3 years or whatever, and then we sign a second string keeper from Crystal Palace, and he's banished 24 hours later. So I can understand why that might have kicked off, to be honest.
Yeah.
Particularly if there was a move on the cards maybe earlier in the window, which we turned down because we didn't have a replacement, and then we signed a replacement last minute. I'm thinking like the Ramsdale deal, which didn't happen.
Yeah.
Maybe I could, if I was in his position, I could see myself throwing the toys at the pram when I was offered 200 grand a week in Saudi Arabia, and now I've got to sit in the stands behind Dan Bentley. I could see how that might be annoying, but
Harry, bearing in mind you've called this Wolves drop worst third kit ever, which is correct, and we will beat Newcastle. I'm going to ask for your score prediction now.
Yeah, well, with Newcastle, we usually always draw, don't we? I think it was 2-2 last year. We've had so many 1-1s against them. We got easily beat at their place, but because I put that as the title, I am going to go with a 2-1 Wolves win. I'm not saying a clean sheet because you know. And I'm going to quickly try and predict the lineup as well. We don't usually do this. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go 4-3-3. What I said a minute ago, Semedo, it's going to be Yerson if he's fit. Obviously, we don't know. Dawson. I'm going to go 8 Nori left back, so we're going to drop Totti. Andre, Lemina, Gomez as the 3 in the middle. I think he might start Bellegarde on the right, Larson, and then Cunha.
Disagree with that? Any of that, Jack? Or do you think that's got potential?
I mean, broke up halfway through, so I'll just say yes. I didn't catch all of it.
Sorry.
Score prediction, 2-1 Newcastle.
Oh, God's sake. I'm going to mirror Harry and obviously go with my 2-1. And Harry, hopefully, unless he breaks up, but it wasn't too bad. It's got some odds for us.
If I'm here.
Yep.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so Wolves are 2-1 for the win. Newcastle are 21-20, so they are favourites. Goal scorers, let's just have a look. You can get Strand Larson for 6-1 to score first, which is a nice little bet. The correct score, so 2-1 is 9-1, which I predicted. A 1-1 is 13-2. A 4-1 Wolves, which I always put on, is 66-1, which was the same odds for the Forest game. And a bit of a cheeky one thrown in there. Mateus Cunha to score a header, 12-1. If you fancy a tenner on that. Brian, cheeky. But yeah, underdogs again. We're always underdogs. We've been underdogs going into every game this season, apart from Burnley.
That's what happens when you're shipping goals. Okay, excellent. Let's move on to the charity 7-a-side. Now, bearing in mind we scored 2 goals last year, came rock bottom. I think we had a wooden spoon game and lost that. But I was chatting with a couple of weeks ago now to our producers who are behind the scenes and look after every episode. They're in my ear all the time. Ollie, Adam and Sean working hard. And I was like, look, guys, I know you don't normally want to get involved in sort of externally facing stuff. You're quite happy to do the internal stuff. But I was like begging with them basically to come on. They're in my ear now trying to put me off, those rascals. And they said, yes, we'll come and help you. They had never played football before. They're just purely technical guys. They're guys that will just do some brilliant editing. They'll obviously set up all of the live streams and that sort of thing. But I'll pass on to Harry now because it was an incredible turnaround of an event. And I wish I'd asked them bloody last year.
Yeah, so first of all, fair play to Dazzle. Top effort putting it on. It must take a lot of work. But he said himself, Dazzling Dave, after we were the most improved team on the day. We went from last year and we were lost on penalties to Talking Wolves in the final. Now, I must say, we did need more players. We ended up with 2 subs because one of the lads had to go early. So by the time we got to the final, we had no legs left. But we didn't lose in open play, which is mad when you think about how we played last year. We won our group, topped the group, 10 points, only drew 1, which we conceded last minute to draw 2-2. Me and you scored, Sam, which is probably the biggest miracle of the day. I've just been sick in the toilet. So I've had a few weeks off the beer. I went to a wedding, had a few glasses of red wine. I thought I'll take it steady. I've got football tomorrow. I did. I actually did take it steady. Played the first game, felt ropey, ran into the toilet, sick everywhere. Honestly, come back out, scored a goal. So
I looked at him. I was like, "What? You're the quietest I've seen you for a long time," and he just went white. And I was like, "Oh, this can't be. I've seen this story play out."
We're still stiff now, Sam. Aren't we?
I know, yeah.
On what was hilarious, Sam, you said to me, we got to the semi-final. Sam was like, I can't kick the ball anymore. Like, my leg's gone. Then he scored. I was like, I thought you couldn't kick the ball. Scored a goal.
That was the one kick I had left. It was for penalties, and I used it. My last kick. My ankle was hanging by a thread.
Our technical producer, Ollie Smith, won the Golden Boot.
He did,
so what a performance from him. Everyone was asking me, like, should we sign him up for Wolves? He had a blinder, didn't he?
He did.
Him and Ad Warren ran the show. But yeah, unfortunate in the finals. By the time we got there, no excuses. Like, fair play to Talking Wolves, we were all running on empty, weren't we? We had no subs. They were too, to be fair. That's why it was 0-0. Went on such a long day, 10 minutes each way, like 7 games. I missed my pen. Well, I didn't miss. The keeper saved it. And by the way, their keeper, Talking Wolves, pulled off one of the best saves we've ever seen in the actual game. So we nearly won it. in open play. But yeah, what a turnaround! It was like something off a movie, wasn't it? From last to finalist. It was like Greece in the Euros 2004.
Most improved team. I mean, look, there's only 4 people on our podcast at the best of times, so I'd 7 aside. We're struggling for 7 aside, but I didn't feel that anyone had a problem when we were shit last year.
They had a problem this year. Can I just say, Jack?
Did people call it out? Did they?
People were like, "Oh, you've got better this year." I said, "Look, Jack and Bayless, Jack and Bayless. Like, no offense to Jack and Bayless, Jack, I know your ear, cover your ears.
It's fine.
Slightly better players in place of you two. No, you know."
I mean, the results kind of speak for themselves, really, because I was at a wedding and couldn't turn up, but it sounds like you might have actually wanted me because you didn't have enough players anyway.
We need, if we get invited back next year, we need everyone who missed it. So we had 4 players miss it from the year before. We need everyone because we were knackered, man. I
thought you'd have been glad for me not being there, to be honest. But I was sort of checking my phone sporadically for updates, and I was shocked when you said you won the group, but when you said you were in the final, I was like, "What the bloody hell's going on here?" And then I was even more shocked when you said you lost to Talking Walls in the final.
You know what was the most bizarre part of the day as well? Matt Hobbs was there watching.
Matt Hobbs was there. Yeah, that was very strange.
Did he not offer you like a contract or anything?
He did. Yeah, he come up to me after and he did ask.
By the time he got round to us, I think he'd sort of heard the joke of, "Oh, it's the only one you fancy." By that time, in which he just blanked whoever said it. But the most important thing, Harry, is what's the total at the moment then?
Well, the last I heard, Dazzling Dave put out a tweet. I think the Wolves Report added like a last-minute donation. It's around 7,000. I don't know the exact number. I know it got over 7,000 for the Wolves Foundation, which they do like stuff for homeless people. And you know what? Fair play to Dazzle. He gets a bit of stick, but the effort, it must have been manic putting that together because the club didn't help him. The club just said, "Yeah, you can do it. You sort it." I think next year, us and another team were the only 2 teams that turned up in like random kits. We might have to try and make a bit more of effort because every other team actually turned up in proper kits. We just,
I think it's funny when you turn up in a random kit and everyone looks different, and then you get to the final. And then who missed penalties, by the way, Harry?
I don't know.
I think I said I put myself forward.
Sam, we didn't miss. The keeper saved him. Jace missed. Well, Jace got his saved, and my legs at that point were that gone. I went for the bottom right hand corner, and it went up into the middle, and it like top high and in the middle. That just shows where my legs were at.
Yeah, it was basically a mirror of England's route to the final at Euro 2020, wasn't it? That's what exactly what happened.
Didn't lose as well for a charity tournament.
Was it?
It was.
There was a lot of there was a lot of fisticuffs, a lot of moaning. Fancast, always Wolves Media, Wolves Foundation.
The program.
Okay, wow. Very professional.
We'll do a win a signed copy. Who's in our group? Let's have a look. Quite a few teams. Was it 10 teams in total, Harry? It was in the end. You had always
Wolves.
Were
you allowed?
Fancast, Wolves Media, Wolves Foundation, 77 Club, Wolves Report, Wolf Pack, WCRFM, Old Gold Pack, and Talking Wolves. But yeah, I mean, some of them had. They must have come on a coach. I mean, they had about 16
WCRFM.
Yeah,
WCRFM had 18 players.
Incredible.
I mean, that's a bit unfair, isn't it? Really, if you've got 7, like that's a massive advantage. You think
we had 10, and 1 went home.
Okay.
I'm thinking about asking the producers, the producers who are learning underneath Adam, Sean, and Ollie about. I'm thinking about casting a net outside of. Maybe into the sales team of the 77 Club. So keep your eyes peeled.
Rumor has it, Gary O'Neill has told Matt Hobbs he might put a team in. That was the talk on the day for next year. So where he's going to put in like his coaching staff or something. So they're going to blitz it.
I mean, that's one of them, isn't it? Where it's a bit close to home, kind of like when they had the ex-pros play last year and they just cleaned up. Yeah. It's kind of I think that's one they might need to push back on to keep it a proper amateur event. But but honestly, well done, boys. Honestly, I was shocked more than anything. But I thought you'd do better than we did last year, just because you've swapped the personnel. Basically, I'm not playing. You've got some better people to play. But I didn't think you'd do that well. I didn't think you'd get to the final. So well done, really. Sounds like you should have won it.
Jack,
really,
we nearly didn't play. We nearly didn't play because when you Bayliss, Lewis, and Ragsy pulled out, I was really struggling to get a team together. So, but sometimes it works out that way, doesn't it? And to be honest, I don't want to sound salty, but I think we deserved to win it on the day. We were probably the best team there. Looking at them all.
Sound salty. Right, okay. Well, let's leave it there. And look, obviously, a fantastic amount of money saved for Wolves Foundation. So I mean, it would help if Wolves Foundation weren't doing other things on the day, because obviously Mark Rhodes was abseiling down the side of Molineux for some reason, so we were down a centre midfielder straight away. But anyway, look, if you're heading to Molineux at the weekend, best of luck to you. 4:30 kickoff, so don't go crazy. Work the next day. We'll say goodbye to Harry Mansell.
Next year we'll wear that new purple kit that everyone's saying is horrendous in the comments. So hopefully we get purple. We'll wear that.
The violet and tangerine.
That's what Bayes is doing. He's buying 12 of those now, extra large for next year.
The HK
sorted.
China special. It's a goodbye from Jack Williams.
Bye, everybody.
And it is a good.